Have you ever been part of a moment and then later you find out that someone else experienced that exact same thing in a totally different way? Today, we're going to explore how one single event can create two powerful and really different stories. So let's dive in. And this quote, it's just the perfect place to start. It's such a good reminder that what we see on the surface, well, it's often just a tiny piece of the real story. There's almost always so much more going on inside a person than what they're letting us see. To really see this idea in action, we're going to look at a pretty simple story. It's about two students, Kaleb and Elijah. And what happens to them in a school cafeteria is, well, it's a perfect case study in misunderstanding. And that's it. That's the whole event. A tray clatters down, milk goes everywhere. It's a moment that's over in, a few seconds. But for Kaleb and Elijah, the impact of that moment, it lasts a whole lot longer. And this right here, this lays out the heart of the problem. On one side, you've got Kaleb's point of view. He says something thoughtless, he sees the hurt he caused, and boom, he's immediately filled with guilt. But then you look at Elijah's side. He doesn't just hear a dumb comment, he hears a painful confirmation of a fear he's already living with. See the difference? One person is feeling guilt, and the other is feeling deep pain. And here it is. This is the hidden detail that changes everything. For Elijah, this wasn't just some random accident. It was the failure of a really personal goal. I mean, he wasn't just carrying a tray of milk. He was carrying his hope of just feeling capable, of feeling normal. And Kaleb's comment, it just completely shattered that. So let's talk about how we're even able to understand both sides of this. The reason we can see how complex this story is, it's all thanks to a key literary tool. It's all about the power of point of view, or POV. So simply put, POV is kind of like the camera lens we see a story through. With Kaleb, we're right inside his head, with that first-person I. We feel his regret immediately. But with Elijah, we're watching from the outside, using the third-person he, but we're still given a peek into his internal feelings of hurt and disappointment. And this brings us to a really important question. I mean, it's one thing to have these different perspectives, but what does having both of them actually do? Why is it so crucial for us to really get what's going on? Well, it gives us a complete picture that neither Kaleb nor Elijah has on their own. We see this massive gap between Kaleb's intent, which was probably nothing, right? And the devastating impact his words actually had. We can hold both his guilt and Elijah's pain in our minds at the same time. And most importantly, we get to see that unseen story. And that right there, that's where real understanding starts. Now, this isn't just a lesson for your English class. This whole idea of seeing the unseen story, it connects to a much deeper, more profound way of looking at the world and at the people in it. This ancient verse, it offers such a powerful lens for our story. It's suggesting there are two ways of seeing things. One way just focuses on what you can see on the outside, and the other way, it looks deeper, into the heart. So let's break down how this applies directly to Kaleb and Elijah. The outward view, Kaleb just saw a clumsy action, a spilled tray. But the heart view reveals what was really going on, Elijah's deep, burning desire to just feel normal. The outward view heard a careless comment, but the heart view heard a painful confirmation of his biggest insecurity. And the results of those two views, they're worlds apart. And this whole idea of looking at the heart, it's a theme you see again and again. In the Gospels, Jesus consistently looked right past the surface-level action to see the real motivation or the pain underneath it, whether it was the huge sacrifice behind a widow's 2 tiny coins or the fear and love that were battling inside of Peter when he made his denial. So what do we do with all this? How do we take this really powerful principle and actually start using it in our own lives, especially when things go wrong and misunderstandings pop up? It really boils down to a simple 3-step process. First, just pause. In a world that loves instant reactions, this is a conscious choice to just stop before you rush to judge. Second, make an effort to see differently. Ask yourself, what could be the unseen story here? And that third step? That's where the magic happens. When you shift from judging to trying to understand, you open up a space where healing can actually begin for everyone involved. The whole philosophy driving this lesson is that education without morality is, it's incomplete. Knowledge without compassion can actually be a weapon. So the goal is to weave these timeless principles right into the fabric of learning. Because as we see in the book of Romans, a mind that's focused on these deeper spiritual truths is a mind that ultimately finds peace. And that leaves us with one last thing to think about. As we wrap this up, I want to leave you with this question. Just let it sit with you for a bit. Based on everything we've talked about, who in your life right now do you maybe need to pause, look past the outward appearance, and try to see with a new set of eyes?